Hello, guys and gals, me, Mutahar, and, I've made a video like this a lot in the last 2 years. Is TikTok getting banned? Ooh boy, is TikTok spooky? Honestly, it's not really the craziest thing for me to just outright say. I'm pretty sure TikTok probably won't get banned, okay? There's a lot of money at play in this situation, and when it comes to legal things like this, it all usually gets settled out before the actual fireworks start exploding. Now, to understand, TikTok is a Chinese-based social media application that a lot of people use, okay? It's very popular. Over 150 million users exist just in this country, I understand alone, just in the United States. It's a massive, massive, massive social media service, okay? I think we all pretty much get that. And in the last couple of years, a whole bunch of Chinese applications have basically jumped into this country and have basically caught virality. You probably bought something on Temu, okay? It might take you a couple weeks to get it. All right, might not be what you bought, but you probably did. And to understand, a lot of these applications are coming in from China, and they're gaining massive market share over here. And one of the fears is, are we getting spied on by them? Is TikTok making us stupid? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to why this development occurred. Now, I'm going to give you some context over here. Back in 2020, the United States actually had an executive order under President Trump, basically addressing the threats that were posed by TikTok. So basically, Trump here said TikTok, a video sharing mobile application owned by Chinese companies, has reportedly been downloaded over 175 million times in the United States and 1 billion times globally. TikTok automatically captures vast swaths of information from its users, including internet and other network activity information, such as location data, and browsing and search histories. This data collection threatens to allow the Chinese Communist Party access to Americans' personal and proprietary information, potentially allowing China to track the location of federal employees and contractors. Now, it's pretty much understood that, from my assessment, most government contractors, most government employees usually get a very locked down smartphone with, again, enterprise level applications and a lot of control and a lot of spying from the actual government itself on what employees do. So TikTok shouldn't be installed on any politician's smartphone. And if it is, then that's a serious national security risk. Any social media application, even an American one, is bad in of itself. But yeah, this is actually not a fear that was kind of led a little bit. It wasn't really like an unfound fear. At the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that goes on our smartphones. And anytime you install an application and you give it permissions, there may be chances that it may exploit or leverage certain things in a device in order to gather more information than it really ever needs. And obviously, any information is worthwhile. You package it up, you send it back home for analysis, you get the idea. So obviously with TikTok, one of the problems was this isn't an American company. This is going back to China, a foreign adversary, okay? At that moment in time, if they have access to over 100 million Americans, like personal information, their data, they may be able to possibly inject trends. They may be able to affect people through social media algorithms. Hell, if you had a foreign country running a powerful social media application, there could even be a chance that elections may possibly be interfered with, right? Imagine if you wanted one political party, you may choose to silence another political party in social media algorithms. Again, this is a bit conspiratorial. It's something that you kind of sit down and you think maybe this could happen, but it's a fear that obviously the federal government, or really any government, has when it comes to their people, and again, the sanctity of their nation, right? That's kind of how we look at some of these things. And obviously TikTok at the time even ended up coming out and constantly has said on records that they will be suing the government, and they are constantly trying to make sure all of the US data is absolutely secure, whether it be through their partnerships with Oracle, whether it be through Project Texas. They are trying to keep all of the US data separate, landlocked, so that even if the Chinese government, which by the way, they absolutely can knock on any Chinese company's doorsteps and ask them, hey, give us some data for national security reasons. And even if a Chinese company doesn't want to participate, they have no choice. They have to give up the data. That's just how things work in the Chinese regime. So here they're writing, the security of our data our community entrusts us with is a top priority at TikTok. Despite recent reports questioning that commitment, we sent a letter to Congress addressing these issues and others, and also want to share with our community the steps we take to secure our US user data. So obviously, they're trying to go really hard in telling people, listen, we're not actually messing around with your data. And even when the CEO actually has to come out and testify in front of actual government representatives, it's not something that ultimately even looks good. This is a situation where, like, you even got the government representatives who honestly don't even know what questions to ask, or even if they properly understand what the technology is that they're talking about, okay? It's wild. So the reason we're talking about it too is a House Commerce Committee voted 50-0 and approved a bill that would force TikTok owners ByteDance to either sell their company, basically severing that tie with the Chinese government, or completely lose access to the United States market, right? So what this bill is, and I've got it right over here, it's called what the name is, Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. Okay, so this is one of the biggest escalations I've seen when it comes to, foreign social media stuff. It's not like foreign social media applications didn't exist. Clearly there's applications that have been made in the United Kingdom, some in India, but because it's China, because it's a direct actual adversary with the United States, this is where obviously the government, and this is insane because 50-0 means both sides of the political spectrum unanimously fucking agreed that this was not going to be okay. You literally had representatives that looked beyond party lines and looked at the national security and all agreed. So it's a pretty massive escalation. Now, does this mean the bill is passed? Obviously not. In the United States, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you have votes like this in the House, it then has to go to the Senate, and once both these houses can agree, it then goes to the president to be signed into law. And I guess at any moment, I think even the president can reject the signature, but I don't think that's ever really going to happen. Anyways, the point of this is they say it's the prohibition of foreign adversary controlled applications. It shall be unlawful for an entity to distribute, maintain, or update a foreign adversary controlled application by carrying out within the land or maritime borders of the United States. So when they write here, they even say providing services to distribute, maintain, and update. So all that really means is they're going to absolutely enforce that every American company that's selling smartphones, like Apple, Google with Android and their app stores, they're going to restrict all of these organizations from housing the actual TikTok app. So when you fire up your app store, if this bill passes, you type in the words TikTok, you'll never actually find it there. Now, does this mean that the US government prevents you from sideloading it? No. And this is where I wonder how the enforcement for this is going to go. Because in the App Store, for instance, Apple storefront, Apple controls the App Store, right? But that doesn't mean you can't make like a $99 developer account or a free one and just sideload TikTok. It's annoying, but you're able to do it, as is, you're right. Now, when it comes to Android devices, right, obviously with an Android phone, if Google bans like an application, like for instance, if Google removes Fortnite, which I believe they did at one point from the App Store, you could just go to like epicgames.com on your Android phone, download an APK and install it, third party, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You basically have access to a banned application. I don't know what they're going to do for TikTok. I wonder, the only way that you could ever realistically enforce this was for the government to go directly to the internet service providers, right? Like AT&T, Verizon, Time Warner, the big players, the people that control your access to the internet, and tell them ban all connections to TikTok, which would be pretty unprecedented because for the United States to basically limit access to any site like that, I don't think I've ever seen before. Obviously, the government can prevent access to websites that are obviously, distributing like illegal material. But to a social media service, I mean, we're talking about having the Great Chinese Firewall in our side. And I don't know if I feel totally comfortable with that, knowing that our internet is about the most freest you can expect from all of the connected world. But let's get back into this bill right here. So obviously, before we go, even TikTok has said, after what the House committee had put, this whole super vote, a total ban of TikTok in the United States, what they said is the government is attempting to strip 170 million Americans of their constitutional right to free expression. And this will damage millions of businesses, deny artists an audience, and so on and so forth. And I don't deny it. If you're like a TikToker, bro, I'd be pissing and shitting myself. Who knows if I have a future anymore, right? Who knows if I gotta start making a YouTube Shorts account and moving all my people over there, because in 6 months, my TikTok account may not even have those US viewers. And this is where, again, it's totally scary for those people in this situation. Now, obviously, the government's not outright banning it yet. They're giving them 6 months to cut off their connection with the Chinese. And we'll get to a bit of that right here. So inside this bill, what they say is data and information portability to alternative application. Before the date on which a prohibition under subsection A applies to a foreign adversary, the entity that owns or controls such applications shall provide, upon request by a user of such application within the United States, to such user all of the available data to the account of such user with respect to such applications. So such data shall be provided in a machine-readable format and shall include any data maintained by the application with respect to the account of such user. So obviously you can download your posts, your photos, your videos, or whatever. That'll all be available. You know, it's not like that's going to be lost media. You can re-download it if you own the account. So obviously, when they go around with like actual like penalties, what they said is an entity that violates subsection A shall be subject to pay a civil penalty in an amount that exceeds from multiplying 5,000 by the number of users within the land or maritime borders of the United States. Yeah, just straight get ready to bankrupt these assholes. Like, goddamn. So inside here, when they talk about controlled by a foreign adversary, means that with respect to a covered company or other entity, that such a company or entity is a foreign person that is domiciled or headquartered in, has its principal place of business, or is organized under the laws of a foreign adversary country. So even if you have like a Chinese, like an American branch of like TikTok, like ByteDance, if you're basically owned by like, you know, a Chinese division, or you're basically a subsidiary of this whole Chinese company, you're under a foreign adversary control, and therefore you gotta start actually divesting. So foreign adversary controlled applications means a website, desktop application, mobile, or augmented or immersive technology that is operated directly or indirectly by ByteDance Limited, TikTok, a subsidiary of a successor to an entity identified in clause 1 or 2. So these guys literally can't even make like another company with a different name and just shift their assets over. They covered that in 3. And then an entity owned or controlled directly or indirectly by an entity identified in 1, 2, or 3. And then B, a covered company that is controlled by a foreign adversary. So yeah, this is really going after like most big Chinese applications. And I'm starting to wonder if this can be, you know, this can be like, you know, sort of brought over to like Temu or a lot of these other Chinese applications. We're getting to a wild point. So yeah, at the end of the day, TikTok has a rule. If this passes, you've got about 6 months in order to start selling off of your assets, or you know, sell it to an American company, or just sever your ties entirely, so no data can ever start heading over to the Chinese, which is again the principal fear that's being had. Now, obviously, do I think this is okay? I'm actually both yes and no here, so let me explain why. I think it's totally okay for the United States to ban Chinese applications, just because the Chinese government does the exact same to any foreign application in their land too. You can't use YouTube, you can't use Google, you can't access American stuff or any of the world through the Great Chinese Firewall, okay? As we can't access some of their stuff either. So I think it's totally reasonable and okay for a country to start banning an application if they feel that their data is unsafely being sent over, right? I think it's totally fucking okay. The only reason I'm not okay with this is that I wonder how it's going to be enforced. Is the United States going to have some authoritarian control over the internet of large and start actually controlling what we can and cannot download? And obviously, I think for a lot of people that are like hardcore free expression rights, they'll probably sit and say, why am I not allowed to have any platform that I can express myself on? Or some people just don't feel that they want to be babied by the government, all right? If people say, hey, I know TikTok's spying on me, but who gives a shit? A lot of applications spy on me. Facebook does it every day. So why can't I decide to just upload whatever I want to any site? It's my freedom. It's my God-given right, which is a very solid argument to make. So yeah, there's a bunch of claims over here. There's a bunch of like, you know, obvious fears of national security. And, you know, I totally understand that, you know, and I'm wondering after reading this, what other Chinese applications are on the chopping block? Look, maybe TikTok will get banned. I still don't think it will. I think at the end of the day, there's just too much money at play. And with the amount of people that TikTok could be taking a livelihood from, I'm sure government officials are looking at it. I just think a backdoor deal is going to get made anyways, and this stuff will just be hoopla. We've been talking about a TikTok ban for damn near since 2020, like I showed you at the beginning of this video. Do I think it's actually going to materialize? Probably not. But who knows? Maybe I might be wrong. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.